I'm George Tyson. I'm a Senior Education Advisor with North Yorkshire School Improvement Service, and I'm also the EdTech Advisor for North Yorkshire Schools ICT. I'm going to share my screen very briefly, and I'm going to include computer sound this time because I will be clicking on some things which have sound. Today's session is Minibytes session 9. We're on the Thursday, the 4th of March, if you're watching live, and it's coding a joke. So it's all about computing in Scratch today. So Scratch is an online programming tool. It's building your own blocks, so you do block programming, which means you click on things and drag them around a bit like Lego on the computer screen, and it makes things happen in the computer world. So how do we get there? I'm just going to come out of this PowerPoint presentation and close you because I don't need you anymore. And then I'm going to be here. So to get to Scratch, you can go to any search engine and type in Scratch. So let's put an example in here. I'll go to google.com. And if I type in Scratch, I agree. If I type in Scratch, you get games, cards, Scratch 2, online, Scratch 3, and so on. Now, some of the information we've had has been about Scratch 2.0 or Scratch 3.0. It's actually alive and a programming language that's completely developing all the time. So the numbers are probably no longer required. It's just Scratch. You can see here it's a first search pop-up on Google when you search for the word Scratch, and it's Imagine, Program and Share. Scratch is built by the MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and therefore it's got an MIT email address and it's got an MIT website. So it's scratch.mit.edu. So you click on that link and it takes you to that site here. So this is a Scratch homepage. Now at this point in time, I've not logged in or anything else. You can just see what exists in Scratch. If you want to, you can explore and you can have a look around featured projects and you can play some of the games that other people have created in Scratch. But for today's 21 minutes, I'm going to show you how to make a very simple game. To make a simple game, you need to sign in or join Scratch. If you've already signed in, that's great. You just click on that button, put in your username and password, and then sign in. If you've not, then you click on Join Scratch and it brings you to a registration page, which is basically email address and creating a username. So don't use your real name, create something which is unique to you. It could be a school username, for example, or a computing at school email address username if you want to. But whatever you put in your username is publicly visible. The password is private to you. So you just need to see how that goes. So I've already registered for Scratch. So I'm just going to come out of that. And when you register and log in, you get this view. So I'm going to click on Scratch, and this is the home page now. I've logged in. You can see my account here is Yorks2elearn, which is the same as my Twitter handle, and I've got this login. You can search for other people on their Scratch accounts and steal their ideas by clicking on the search at the top. Actually, it's borrowing. They're very common thing in Scratch is to look for other people's ideas and then rebuild it or redesign it. And if you scroll down, you can see featured projects and studios and projects curated by individuals you've followed or used, and you can see what's going on. Now, if I carry on going through here, you can see what the community is remixing. Remixing is when people post their Scratch work and then you can change it or look at the code. It's called remixing. So if you see a complicated game and you click on remix, you can pull out really complicated code from there and you can see how other people have done it. Let's go back to the top. We're doing a simple bit of Scratch today. We're doing a simple bit of code. So at the very top here, I can start off by clicking on my name and the drop down, and I've got my stuff. Alternatively, I can click on the folder next to it, which is also my stuff. So I click on one of these two things, it will take me to existing projects that I've made before, those I've shared, those I've not, and any studios I've got. If I want to start from the very beginning, I can click on new project here. And if I want to try and compartmentalize and put things in folders, I can make studios. So I might have a studio for different year groups, for example. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to click on new project. Or if I don't want to go through that route, the easiest way is just click on create. And that takes you straight along to a new project and bypasses all that stuff. OK, so this is your new project screen. The new project screen always starts with a cat called Sprite1 and always starts with a blank page apart from that. Because I'm going to be using sound effects and recording sound effects, I need to actually start from a pre-prepared screen because I can't use my microphone to talk in Teams at the same time as I use my microphone to talk in Scratch. So I'm going to click on this 21 in 21 simple joke, which is one of my saved projects. It automatically saves as you go. and then I click on see inside, and this is what will allow me to program. You can see it's exactly the same starting point. So Scratch, what are the main areas? Well, on the top, you've got 3 tabs. You've got code, costumes, and sounds. Code is what allows the sprites to do things. Costumes is what the sprite looks like, and you've got different options of what it looks like. For most sprites, you've got multiple costumes. And you've got sounds. Now, sounds, this is why I need to pre-record it. You can record your own sounds by clicking on this create a sound here. And if you go on the bottom, you can search for sounds. You can record your own sounds. You can get a surprise sound, or you can upload them from your computer. We'll come back to sounds later on. Let's get to the simple joke. If I click on code, costumes, or sounds, these are all linked to the sprite I can see in the corner. And you can see here I've only got one sprite, which is currently called sprite 1, which is often referred to as the Scratch cat because of the cat. I need to code a joke. Now it's going to be a simple knock knock joke, and it's going to be between 2 characters. So the first thing I need to do is add some more sprites. So where do I do that? Looking at the bottom right hand side, I can see there's a cat with a plus sign on. If I hover over here, it says choose a sprite. And again, I've got options. I can upload a sprite if I made one. I can get a surprise sprite. I can paint my own using my artistic skills, or I can search for one. I'm going to click on choose sprite, and let's see how it goes. I can now search by name for sprites if I know the names of things, or I can search by type, so people or animals and so on. And I'm going to pick 2 sprites here. I'm going to have 2 people who can tell a joke and receive a joke. So one of these is going to be Avery, because I've used Avery before. I'm going to pop Avery over here. I'm going to add another sprite, so it's down at the bottom. Click on hover over the cat face and click on the magnifying glass. Choose a sprite, and again you'll see that Avery's at the top. But I can find somebody else, and I'm going to look for. Let's have a scroll down and see who else we can find. You can see there's lots of different people here. I'm going to go for Devin. So here's Devin, and Devin's going to go on this side. So I've now got Avery, Devin, and Scratch Cat. Now Scratch Cat is my secret holding place for all my sounds. Okay, all these sounds are on Scratch Cat. So that's why I'm leaving Scratch Cat on for now, but I don't need to see Scratch Cat. So to hide a sprite, if you look just beneath the sprite's name, you can see show, it's got an eyeball open and an eyeball with a line through it. Click on that, and Scratch Cat, the sprite has vanished from sight, but it's still in the programming. I've now got 2 characters who could tell a joke. I've got a problem. They're not looking at each other. If they're telling a simple knock knock joke, they need to be looking at each other. So with this character here, with Avery, I click on her icon down here, and it shows me that I've selected Avery. And I've got a number of sprite directions and show and not show options around here. If I want to change the direction that Avery's looking, I can click on this direction button and change it. Now it's like a clock face that will kind of rotate it. So if I do this and go down, it rotates Avery around. Okay, so if I do that, it rotates around. I've got different options. If I do this button here, which is left and right, it just flips the image to the left or to the right. It doesn't matter at the angle, it just flips left or flips right. So I've flipped Avery so she's facing Devin. Devin, again, if I clicked on Devin, I could either click on direction and rotate Devin, or I can click on that, and that will flip Devin over and flip Devin around. So that's the first part of telling the joke, is getting the characters facing each other. Now, they're not going to do anything unless I put some programming in. So let's look at Devin first of all. Devin's going to be our joke teller, and Avery's going to be dealing with the bad joke. We've got 10 minutes left, so let's get cracking. This green flag is what makes everything go in Scratch, and that red stop sign is what stops everything in Scratch. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the event to occur that when the green flag is clicked, something happens. So I'll click on Devin. I'll click on these blue and purple and pink and so on buttons down here, give different programming blocks we can use. If I click on the events block, I can see here this is when something happens. This is some sort of input. It might be a key being pressed or something else, a sprite being clicked and so on. In this situation, I'm going to drag it across from the menu into this middle part of the screen. This is programming Devin here because I can see his picture in the corner. When the green flag is clicked. Now to start telling the joke, I need to say something. So I'm going to click on looks. I'm going to start with speech bubbles to start with. It's going to be in here. Say hello for 2 seconds. But I don't want Devin just to say hello. I want Devin to say knock knock. Knock knock. If I can actually spell it right, it's even better. Okay, so is that working? You'll notice how that block can be loose or it can stick on. If it sticks on like that, when I press the green flag, that program will say, when the green flag is clicked, it's going to say knock knock. Let's have a look. Perfect. It said knock knock for 2 seconds. When the green flag's clicked, each and every time, he says knock knock. I'm going to then make Devin wait just for pace and time. So I go on events, sorry, I go on control, and I've got control here. This controls what the sprite does. I'm going to drag it across and stick it underneath knock knock. Because we all know knock knock jokes, someone's got to say who's there. So I'm going to let Avery say who's there in a moment. When Avery said who's there, Devin's going to respond. And he's going to say something else. So he's going to say his pun. Now this is going to be the worst knock knock joke ever, so feel free to tell everybody that you know about it. It's going to be wooden shoe. You get 10 million points if you can guess the answer. Knock knock. Avery's going to say who's there. And we're going to say wooden shoe. Let's click on the green flag and see if it works. Knock knock. Response of who's there. Wooden shoe. Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to control. Put in another wait. Well, Avery says wooden shoe who. And then we're going to get the pun. The ending. Okay. And I'm going to leave that as a surprise for now. We now need to go to Avery. Now, if you look, we've used 2-second clumps each and every time. Knock, knock, blank, wait, who, wooden shoe, wait, and then the mystery surprise punchline. If we go to Avery, Avery has no programming at all. Avery's not going to do anything when we press the green flag. So we need to give her an event when the green flag's clicked. Now, the first thing is Devin's talking. So Avery's going to have to wait a few times. I'm going to drag this, I'm just going to plop it on the screen, and I'm going to pinch it a couple of times just to make sure I've got the right weight number of blocks. These will not do anything, but by just putting in the code in place now, it saves me having to go back to that menu. So while Devin says knock knock, Avery's going to wait. I go back to looks and drag in the say hello for 2 seconds block and change the text. It's going to be who's there. Make sure I put in the apostrophe, make sure I put in the punctuation, get some spelling, punctuation and grammar marks in. Wait again while Devin says wooden shoe. Avery's going to then say wooden shoe who? Who's there? Wooden shoe who? And then wait for 2 seconds. I'm going to press the green flag now. Look in this corner. I'm going to expand out the screen and we'll now press the green flag. Knock knock, 2 seconds. Who's there? Devin waits. Wooden shoe. Avery waits. Wooden shoe who? Devin's response. Okay, we're going to stop that program, minimize the screen. That's working nicely so far. We now need to put in the punchline. So Devin, let's see if our audience has grasped the punchline. It's going to be wooden shoe like to hear another joke. Haha. Okay, let's try that out now. So let's make it full size. Press on go. Knock knock. Who's there? Wooden shoe. Wooden shoe who? Wouldn't you like to hear another joke? Ha! Marvelous stuff. But we've got 21 minutes, so let's make it more complex, more exciting. Do you remember how my scratch cat has some sounds attached to him? Well, these sounds I can drag into my sprites. So you'll notice I've got a knock knock sound there. These are all pre-recorded from my voice, so apologies for that. I'm going to put knock knock onto Devin's sprite, just so he's got a copy of knock knock. Who's there onto Avery? Wooden shoe onto Devin. Wooden shoe who onto Avery. And then I've got wooden shoe like to hear another joke onto Devin. I've got something called crowd groan. I'm going to put that on Avery because she deserves to groan on that joke. So now let's look at the code. Scratch cat's got nothing and is hidden, so that's fine. Devin. We're going to add some sound now. So we've done motion, would be moving around. Okay. Looks is what we're seeing in the speech bubbles. Sound. If I click on this, you'll see the purple icons here have play sound until done. Okay. So when it says knock knock, I can pull this block apart and I can get so if I just pull it down there, I'll put the sound in play sound, or even I can click on start sound, and then the sound should come along. When I click on this box here, this oval, I make it say knock knock. Bring it in, wait 2 seconds. I'm going to start the sound of wooden shoe. And then again, I'm just going to pull this off here. And the reason I'm doing start sound then say, because hopefully it should overlap. And this is where I'm going to now press play and see if you can hear it as well as see it. My computer sound should be shared. Knock, knock. Wooden shoe. Wouldn't you like to hear another joke? It's terrible, isn't it? Okay. It gets worse the more you hear this joke as well, but we've now got the start sounds in place. We can let things go on, we can change volumes and so on, but Avery is a female character, so I'm going to give her a different sound effect. Avery's voice needs to come in the same way. Now, just like on Devin, Devin had the start sound, then the say being the speech bubble. Avery's before say, he's going to pull these off, and I'm going to put in the sounds of start sound. And you see it all sticks together like it's Velcroed. I'm going to start the sound there. And this one here is going to be who's there, because that's what it said. This one's going to be wooden shoe who. And then you've got to wait 2 seconds. Let's see what it looks like. Make it bigger. Play. Knock, knock. Who's there? Let's stop that. It's working. We've got the sound. But Avery sounds like me. That's no good. I'm going to pull this first sound block down a little bit. I'm going to put a bit of programming in to change the sound. You'll see I've got change pitch here. I'm going to change pitch and drag it across. Now, because we're running quite tight on time, I have found that if I change my pitch by 65, then actually I get my my voice sounds less like me. Okay. I'm going to also put something at the end, just clear sound effects, because that gets rid of the change in pitch. Let's just press play and see what it sounds like. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Completely female, I think you'll agree. That's my alter ego there in Avery. So we've got knock, knock, who's there? I've cleared the sound effects and we put in that crowd groan for a reason. So I'm going to put the crowd groan there. And I actually think that maybe we need to change the volume. I'm going to move that around so the volume is louder. And it's going to be change volume by, I'm going to go 20. It's going to be a big loud crowd groan at the end. So let's see how this goes. We'll see if we can program a joke in 21 minutes. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Will it work? Will it not? These two are just standing in space. Very quickly, drop down to the bottom. Do you see the bottom corner here? We've got choose a backdrop. Again, I can just upload a backdrop or surprise myself with something. Or I can choose a backdrop from the selections here. They've got to be on a stage to tell this joke, don't they? Let's pick concert, because that is definitely the place to tell a joke. Now we get to see the final one. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Wooden shoe.
Wooden shoe who?
Wouldn't you like to hear another joke? I think you'll agree for 21 minutes, that's a pretty decent bit of programming. For this session, it is being recorded, so you'll be able to see the programming for each person. You can record your own sounds if you want to by clicking on sounds and going down there. But despite the horrible, horrible humour, I would just like to thank you for attending today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them now by chat, or if you've got any further questions or you'd like to have some training or me to deliver this sort of training with pupils in class, just let us know afterwards. So thank you for your time and your efforts, for joining today and putting up with my terrible sense of humour, but I hope you've learned a bit about programming too.